guys my current opinion on the Bitcoin, and I posted this already in our Discord group of the, because if we have a barrier 7, 12, 15, XRP doesn't care. So lower, so this would be a zigzag, that's a zigzag. Currently I don't know what this is, but most likely a zigzag. Triangle, right? Zigzag. Currently I don't know what this is, but most likely a zigzag. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, A, B, C. If we get another
Yo, what's up?
Zigzag up, well, even more.
What's up, guys? I am terrible. I am giga terrible.
Philadelphia.
Let's just watch this.
America's largest open-air drug market and the land of the walking dead. 6 months ago, Philadelphia health officials sounded the alarm for a new drug on the streets, medetomidine.
They're getting expired tranquilizer from Africa, actually.
They call it rhino trank. Rhino trank, yeah.
A veterinarian tranquilizer used on rhinos held in captivity that's now being cut with the fentanyl used on the streets out here. And it's estimated to be up to 100 times stronger than the xylazine you saw in my video here 2 years ago.
That shit not just fentanyl. Like, I don't know what it is, for real, for real.
I'm hearing that the dope now has a new chemical in it or whatever, that it's going to have everybody with Alzheimer's and dementia within a year.
Once you start, you can't stop, and you're going to be out here.
What have you noticed change?
Nothing. I see people dying here all the time. It's like the pit of hell.
People are screaming,
It's chaos.
hollering, moaning, fighting. It's terrible. This is the worst place in America.
So I hit the streets of Kensington at night to see if this place has gotten better or worse, and if there's any hope of fixing it.
Welcome to Philadelphia, you hear me?
Why are we calling it Philadelphia? So you're lighting up the Air Maxes right now to stay warm?
Yeah, I'm burning anything because I'm
Oh
Those are
no.
nice shoes, though. What do you think keeps so many people here in Kensington?
Drugs.
Drugs? What do you think the biggest reason they end up on the streets here in the first place is?
Drugs. I started with marijuana first.
So you're saying we're kind of discriminating on what's...
Yes.
Okay, heard. No sweat. No, I was just curious. No, I was just curious. We'll get out of your hair. That is poisonous air you guys are breathing right there.
Yeah, usually they get these big the plastic crates. They bring like sodas into the stores to burn those because they'll burn for hours. Then I have to go get wood. Like that.
Sure.
What you doing over here?
God bless you.
Fentanyl too, because that's what they got in it.
You smoking fentanyl?
Marijuana. That shit got fentanyl in it.
So all the marijuana...
I'm not. You want to know how we different? You got a crack pipe next to you.
What? So what?
You can't find one in a minute.
Started where you started.
Shut up.
Marijuana.
I ain't never advanced enough.
Okay, but real talk, though. Do you think you get judged differently if you do fentanyl versus, like, weed?
No, bro. I'm not gonna use my addiction for your happiness.
I'm not getting happy by looking at this. I'm just amazed.
Yeah, that's one way to stay warm, and like, this is a good half an hour of heat. Like,
Are there shelters available right now you guys can go to sleep in and stay warm?
nah. As soon as we go to a shelter, they're gonna say that they overfilled.
2 days ago,
Yeah.
I tried to go to a hospital, tried to get in rehab, and they didn't even do shit for me.
So if you could get off the streets, you would get off the streets?
Damn right, I don't want to be out here getting high no more.
Yeah,
Yeah?
yeah,
Even if you had the dope stick?
yeah. I go
Okay.
to the pain.
Okay. Do you think most people would?
I mean, I know most people would. They don't give a about nobody. They don't care about anything except for making money. And it's just really ridiculous at this point because we cold as shit and there's nothing that we could do but like clothes that we could get to somebody else so that they don't have to walk.
They don't give nothing for homeless people.
But they're giving you guys needles and fentanyl foil and...
I do not know what I would do
That's what I'm saying, right?
if I end up on the streets like this.
What are your thoughts?
First of all, I think there's a big difference between homeless and houseless. A lot of people choose to be out.
I don't wanna say, you know.
For homeless people.
Tell me about them.
I don't know.
It's
where they are,
horrible.
but I know they have them.
But people choose to stay out here all because they want to get f***ing high. Oh, just like the ones that got them f***ing big strength wounds. Instead of going to the hospital, staying in the hospital like you should be doing, you come out here and you shoot up in your f***ing wounds and don't take care of them and clean them and then you lose your limbs and you're why me? Because you f***ing did it.
Officer, what are your thoughts on what's going on? What do we got?
They're gonna put this out.
Okay, so the fire's got to go out. I think the concerns are you have buildings and structural integrity under the bridges that would eventually catch fire, but also it's the catch-22 of how do you stay warm when it gets below freezing. So the fire's being put out right now. The fire is gone. Are there shelters that are available? Like, could they sleep somewhere?
There are shelters available, but they don't really go there.
Okay.
As far as I understand.
Officers, real quick. Officers, post-game interview, real quick. Is your job impossible out here? This seems like a tough scene.
It's not impossible, but you just gotta do what you gotta do sometimes, that's all.
Are you guys putting out literal and metaphorical fires all night long, working this beat?
Yeah. At nighttime, yeah, in the cold?
Does Kensington ever become not Kensington?
No.
And I I hear they'll push it one of these days, or it'll move.
They'll move them and then they'll come back. That's about it.
A lot of people come out here. They're not out here because they just want to do drugs and shit like that.
Tell me.
I got a car wreck when I was 16, right? Rolled my car down a mountain in Tennessee. Was prescribed pain medicine from the time I was 16 to 30 something. Went and got it from the doctors, just like you're supposed to.
You got prescribed fentanyl?
Yeah.
And did that start your addiction that you had to maintain on the
I
streets?
was 16 years old. The doctor gave it to me. I didn't think anything about it. I think I was 19. I lost my pills one day. I got really, really sick. I didn't know what the fuck was going on.
Yeah, withdrawal.
Oh yeah, well you're addicted. Going through withdrawal. I lost my shit. I trashed the doctor's office. Got arrested.
I see.
Got divorced. After I got divorced, became homeless. Came out here and started selling, started using. Oh yeah, once you win, you win. You can't get out. It's like the mafia a little bit. It holds you down. I got out of rehab like 4 times. Keep coming back. It's the drink. Rehab not working. The shit they giving you is the drugs. Shit that they giving you is not working. The subs not working.
I used to clean out here, sweep up and all that. I got shot, got operated. A straight bullet hit me on my hip and on my knee. And I went to the hospital, got operated. I'm just a few months getting my walk up back.
Okay, so this is pretty recent.
Yes.
I'm here with
Leprechaun.
That is a badass name, Leprechaun. And you're the lady?
Yeah.
You're his girl? How long have you guys been dating, first of all?
Been together 11 years.
11 years.
Okay, that is true love. How did you guys end up out here?
Apartment was on fire last year.
And insurance did not cover it, I assume?
No, we didn't have renter's insurance.
And you ended up out here immediately afterwards?
No, we spent a year and a half in the hotel.
Do you guys currently live in a hotel?
No, we're back and forth between family.
Do you guys frequent?
Wow, they look horrible for being that recent.
Okay, it's just the bazaar. This is the Walmart for drugs.
It's the drugs. Oh man.
Pain clinic. It'd be $150 a day to get what I was being prescribed. And I could go out on the street and buy stuff for $150, something like that, a day.
Do you have to come down here and get those cheap pills?
I could come out here, $5. So what are you gonna do?
You're at the point where the only thing that makes you feel better is continuing to use the fentanyl.
Yeah, even though I don't want to be out here, I gotta do it. That's the only way I'm gonna be sick. Like I won't be sick.
Can you explain the sort of withdrawal experience? How quickly that sets in once you stop using?
Man.
Is it like within hours, days, weeks?
No, it was within a day. You gotta use it like every 6 hours. If you're not using it like that, then that is gonna your teeth start to feel like they falling out. You start to throw up your inner stomach. Like that is real deep. It feel like you can't move. Your whole body just giving out on you.
Did they prescribe you like OxyContin or something?
Withdrawal is horrible.
The gun wound.
Yes, I got operated. It healed up and all that.
Has that escalated to using anything a little more?
I never had to withdraw from
What are you using right now?
shit that they're taking, but
Smoke hard and shit. And,
I know what they talk about.
Were you familiar with Kensington prior to buying drugs out here?
Yes.
And you always knew it was like an open air drug market? And
No, it wasn't like this when I was a kid.
tell me how it was like when you were a kid.
Neighborhood. It was a middle class urban neighborhood. Like it was normal. Like this time of year, you would see Christmas lights. The avenue was the place to be. It was nothing but stores,
So
blocks
just a
and blocks of
regular-
stores. It was a regular neighborhood.
So if you're a fentanyl user, you're coming to Kensington just for proximity and access to the drug availability?
Easy access, yeah.
Easy access.
I mean, I got 2 college degrees. Like I'm a homeowner.
Sure.
You know?
Oh, so you own a home?
Yeah.
Why are you out here?
Top drugs.
To get the drugs?
Yeah, 'cause I have to.
Do you go back home?
Yeah, I'm gonna go back home. That's pretty much.
Do you get tired of being out here and being a part of this?
I can't stand it. Are you kidding me? This is
Yeah.
hell. This is literally hell.
I mean,
Just, close my eyes and listen. People are screaming,
It's chaos.
hollering, moaning, fighting. It's terrible. This is the worst place in America.
Not just fentanyl. Like I don't know what it is for real, for real. Yeah, definitely a curse. Once you start, you can't stop, and you're gonna be out here. I started because I was depressed, and now I'm just doing it just so I won't be sick.
Man, are you gonna sleep out here tonight?
Definitely, yeah. I don't know where at yet, because niggas like to steal your shit.
Did you guys start using out of like depression after the house burned down, or
I started using about 1996.
fentanyl?
Yeah.
No.
No, heroin.
So you graduate from heroin to fentanyl?
Yes.
Is that a pretty common?
Nobody really
96, dude.
did it. Whoever it is.
Market makers.
If you're using drugs like they do for 30 years,
Had a choice.
Too much money.
how are you still alive? Holy fuck.
Getting paid, the judge getting paid, the cartel getting paid, everybody getting paid off. So
So everyone's making money off people using and dying out here.
the Illuminati control all this.
That someone else is-
control all this shit, bro. They the real boss. Fuck the president and all them. They over the president.
Started doing this stuff that had fentanyl in it. You couldn't go back to heroin.
Same corner you got the heroin
I had
from,
only
switched it.
started using
to
during
fentanyl.
that time, so I thought I was using just heroin. And here,
You didn't even realize you were using fentanyl at the time.
exactly.
That sounds
But
like
I
a lot of
think that
people
it
would
was half
die
and half.
throughout
I
that.
think it was half and half. It was before Trank was even in it.
Yeah, they sneaked it into it.
And then they snuck Trank into the fentanyl they snuck already onto you?
Yes. No, it actually got real stronger and you just fell asleep after you did it.
The dealers introduced fentanyl, and then they introduced the xylazine and the fentanyl, and what do we have now? I heard nitazines is what you called it?
They call it Rhino Trank.
Lino-Trank.
Rhino Trank, yeah.
What does Rhino-Trank mean?
It's a lot stronger than the regular xylazine.
Yeah, they're getting expired tranquilizer from Africa, actually.
What?
Yeah, expired like rhino and elephant tranquilizer.
Expired elephant and rhino tranquilizer.
What the fuck?
I came here for the healthcare. My wife has cancer. I came here because she wasn't getting treated down south. Came here. She's had multiple surgeries. You know, she's doing good. I've had pain problems my whole life. What the f*** are you gonna do?
How many people have you spoken out here that are initially prescribed, like let's say fentanyl or oxys, and then end up coming here to buy it for cheap?
You know what's insane? I'm on so much pain, and I asked my doctor, like, what can I do?
You get to take it, you're doing what you're supposed to.
And all you get is Ebus in Germany.
They didn't tell me that it was addictive. I was taking Oxycontin 80s. Like,
I bet if I was in the States, they would have given me fentanyl
No
and shit.
warnings, and then you're forever addicted.
Yeah, exactly.
But real quick, have you ever wondered about your family history, where your ancestors are from, who you even are? Thanks to the sponsor of this video, MyHeritage, you can discover. It's very cold out here. Scan the QR code right here and join MyHeritage for 14 days free.
Poor people,
Brittany, how long have
man.
you been out here?
About 10 years.
I like your onesie, by the way.
Thank you.
It's very cold out here.
It's super warm.
How do you deal with the cold out here? It's cold.
It was great when I had a man and I had body heat going on, but like now, dinosaur onesies and a lot of blankets, and it sucks. I'm trying to go to rehab for real. I can't take it out. I'm not doing this another winter. I can't do it.
I believe in you. That's badass.
I'm hearing that the dope now has a new chemical in it or whatever that's gonna have everybody with Alzheimer's and dementia within a year. It's whatever's making people trip. People are tripping.
We're not talking about nodding out, right?
No, we're talking about like hallucinating.
Okay.
And it's doing something to people's brains. And I'm telling people this like to try to, you know, maybe like steer people away from doing this shit. You know what I mean? Because I want to get off of it. Like, it's really hard. People are dying now left and right in jail from withdrawal. My ex-boyfriend just died, and a couple girls that I found out just died. Right. Withdrawal is killing people.
How was your holiday?
Busy.
Hella busy.
How was yours?
By the grace of God, I'm still alive.
That's heavy.
Well, every day is a challenge, though. You know, you're not guaranteed to live the next day.
Drug-wise, I don't do drugs. Since I came home from having my head ran over by a car 2 weeks ago, right across the street.
Right out here?
Yeah, right across the street.
Were you nodding out on the street, or?
I was asleep. The guy sat in the car for 20 minutes before he pulled off. He pulled off and ran over my head and kept going.
So he hit and ran you, basically?
Yeah. My first day out the hospital, he sent his wife over to me and told his wife that he'll pay me $500 if I don't take him to court.
Take him to court?
Yeah, I'm taking him to court now.
Yeah, you probably should.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that happened to you, dude.
Tanisha.
Tanisha, how you doing today?
I'm alright.
What's going on?
You know, same old shit.
How did you end up here?
Well, I was...
Right here. Just hold on right there. You're good.
Oh my, she's fucked.
Coming down here, and I'm coming here starting like 16 and getting dope.
Okay.
But whenever we came through this time, me and him got into an argument, and he left me here. And someone stole my phone. I had no phone. So I've been here.
They're telling me you're blind. Is that true?
Yeah, in my left eye.
I have a bullet in my back. My wheelchair broke, you know what I mean? So,
yeah. Shot in the back out here?
Yeah, out here.
Just a straight bullet?
Just a straight bullet.
We've heard that twice today.
See, I got one, it's stuck in my spine. If I get it taken out, I become paralyzed waist down. So I had to deal with me, so it's kind of hard for me to walk.
Do you kind of walk around?
Oh no!
Yeah.
That's because of the back? The bullet?
Yeah, because it shifts on your ass. Sometimes it puts me in tears. Ever since George Floyd got killed and this pandemic happened, this world been fucked.
So I see you
I feel so sorry for him.
Are you on fentanyl or Trank? Yeah. How much do you use a day?
Anywhere from 3 to 6 bags.
So I know it's cold. It's so cold out here. When you nod out, are you concerned that you might die in the cold if you?
No, because I don't do that outside at night.
You don't do it outside?
No,
Oh my god, look at them.
Steal from you. It's a fucking jungle.
Do people steal when you're nodding out? Is that what happens?
Oh yeah.
You're a woman, you get
Have fentanyl on
our
you?
word here,
That's what it looks
you
like.
know.
And I'm curious if you can quantify how much this costs too once you show. Thank you for showing us, by the way. How much does that cost? Something like that?
Here, $5.
$5, that's it?
Where I'm from, it goes for like $20 a bag. I was on Ian Living Cop the other day, and I was doing lookout for a block, He got shot right in his throat about 1:30 in the morning.
Question for you guys. When you see someone in the street like that, do they get moved? Or can you guys not kind of touch them?
I mean, we can only advise them to get out of the street.
Really? Even if they end up getting hit, you guys can't do anything about it?
I put my hands on somebody. I can't physically remove somebody. I mean,
no, it makes sense. I'm just curious.
You know, I ride around and make sure that they're still alive.
We came here 2 years ago. Has it gotten better or worse?
I mean, there's improvements.
Do you feel like your hands are tied as a cop out here in the sense of what you wish you could do versus what you can do?
No, I mean, with the new regime, 100%, they definitely have our back. They allow us to do what we have to do. The public doesn't like some of the things. We got to do what we got to do. It happens almost once or twice a night. They walk into people's cars because they're just not, you know, they're not coherent. They're not with it, you know. Like this here, they set up an entire encampment. What they don't realize is those people that live upstairs, they're blocking their way out. God forbid there's a fire or something. It's not about get off the corner, get away. You know, you have rights, but your rights can't circumsede someone else's rights. They deny the shelters. They don't want the shelters. They want, you know, they want to light a fire. Can't just light a cardboard box on the sidewalk and sit there. And I want you to stay warm. You're a hazard now. I know what I do when I'm out here. If one person lives tonight, I did my job. Unfortunately, people, you know, they don't want the help.
What's one big misunderstanding the public might have about your job as a police officer out here in Kensington?
They think that all we want to do is just lock people up. It's not the case. We have the business curfew. Stores got to close at 11 o'clock now. You know why? Because somebody was killed inside the store playing video games and the casino games, which they shouldn't be in there to begin with. Believe it or not, you know who gets more upset because the stores are closed? The people out here, because now they have, where am I going to go for my munchies? And it's not my problem.
All right, be safe. Okay, things just got real there, it sounds like. The cop was screaming on the camera there. He's getting straight up assaulted on the other line. But what do lifetime locals here in Philly think about the current state of these streets? Who am I here with?
My name is Billy Love Kendall. They call me Ra, R-A. I'm from down here. I got a little insight. I've been out here my whole life, so.
So I came here 2 years ago. I was told it was going to get cleaned up. What happened? I see needles all on the ground right now. Doesn't look cleaned up.
They do try. Especially in the summertime, you'll see cleanup crews come. But it's so bad out here to the point a day's worth of litter will look like this.
How did Kensington become the Disneyland of drugs out here, it seems?
The conveniency of the transportation. This transportation can get you anywhere in the city.
We're talking that right there, the public transportation?
Yeah, public transportation. Yeah, this train is everywhere. So it ain't like, oh, we all got a train station. Our stop's not like this. Yes, we understand that. But there was a problem close to Kensington and dwelled in Somerset. Somerset is one stop down. There's more room. As you can see, the streets are bigger. It was just a habitat of drugs, and it's like they ain't leave.
We were driving past here. I saw a guy slumped over in the sidewalk, basically in the street. We noticed the police walking on their beat. What do they do out here?
So they ignore it because they do get tired, like tired or sleep or OD'd or whatever the case may be. But normally when you walk up to them, they will give you some type of motion to let you know that they is alive or they is somewhat awake.
Are we seeing people dying here every single day?
I'm not seeing them literally, but there is ODs every single day. But when I was a child, this Walgreens used to be a Blockbuster. There used to be a lot of stores right here to the point where I look forward to going to the store for my mom and come down to the avenue and buy my sneakers and get her medicine and stuff like that. Yo, and I used to just look forward to come out and shopping, you feel me? But at this point, we can't do that no more. I noticed the transformation in the conditions of the drug addicts that was doing dope. My mother used to be a drug addict. The most I seen to my mother was track marks. And nowadays, it's more than track marks. Like, they got limbs falling off, getting cut off, and swollen, and busting, and anything you can name, you feel what I'm saying? It's like whatever they put in their body is forcing itself out of their body. I'm here because I'm witnessing the problem and I'm living in the problems. I'm not gonna run from it. I didn't never run from my mother addiction. I remember running down G Street, chasing my mother while she was on dope and crack.
And as we were talking, this guy in a pickup truck pulled up out of nowhere. Can you tell us what you're up to?
We're handing out some clothes and stuff for the people. We're just here trying to help people. We know it's cold outside. I'm a pastor. We get our churches involved and people donate stuff. We just gave a bunch of stuff out over there and we got a little bit of stuff left. We're just trying to get rid of what we have before it gets dark.
This is our first time back in 2 years. What have you noticed change?
Nothing.
Nothing?
I see people dying here all the time. It's like the pit of hell.
It's getting much colder now. Is this going to help ultimately?
We had the whole thing piled up. Yeah.
Is it so cold people are dying on the streets?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. People, you'll watch if you stand here a few minutes, people will come out of the woodwork. You know, they grab whatever they can. You know, you gotta remember the people here that have no way to wash their clothes. They have no place to take a shower. They have nothing. We hand out hygiene kits, you can see. You can look at puravitacondios.com.
You donate, this will go towards clothes, food for the local community out here?
Yeah, puravitacondios.com.
Give these people a resource, like give them somewhere to stay, give them something to do, and also give them a fixed income so they can be motivated that they won't be homeless if you stop helping them. And I know like who wants to be giving out free things to people that's doing things by their own choice. But you will see more positive stories than negative.
How are people affording the drugs in the first place out here right now?
They're stealing from the businesses and they're reselling it, and now the businesses is going out of business.
Are we talking Walgreens and CVS's or local mom and pop shops went out of business?
Pop stores, and even some like DTLR, Olympia Sport never opened back up. Rainbow got caught on fire due to a homeless person trying to burn a sensor off a tag to steal something.
Someone out here were trying to get some fentanyl. How long would it take to get some fentanyl?
What's fentanyl?
Like 2 minutes?
What
are you using out here?
I was prescribed perks. I've been on Suboxone for 10 years. I'm all about that Subway Surfer. But I did start doing fentanyl a year ago because I didn't know what it was. I stopped doing dope when fentanyl came out because it was so strong. I just got done doing like 3 years in recovery living, and so I got kind of burned out because it was mandatory from jail.
I see.
But now I'm maxed out, and it's like voluntary, and I did 3 years, and I got kicked out for trying to get some gushy inside the halfway house.
Thank you, bro. Oh, yo. We got some updated gamble machines. All right, here you are, sir. I was running a business out here. Stuff? Yeah.
But y'all do a good job.
Thank you, by the way.
Thank you.
The whole little 11 o'clock thing they did, it's affecting business.
Tell me how. For the worse?
It's doing something that we have nothing to do with. Like as far as like the gambling machines, that's what they wanted to crack down on. I don't have no gambling machines, as you can see.
So can you tell me when they implemented the 11 o'clock curfew?
That's been about a few months now.
And the goal for that was to reduce?
I have no idea. I mean, I don't know what it has to do with the business, but as far as a curfew at 11 o'clock for businesses, I mean,
they still want to be outside.
People is gonna be outside no matter what, regardless. What does that have to do with the business being open? I never have, as you can see, I have a buzzer. You can't come in here unless I allow you in here.
And you guys have pretty good relationships with the people who do use on the outside and maybe come in or knock or whatever?
I mean, yeah. I'm not, I don't discriminate against everybody, like especially like people with addictions, you know what I mean? Everybody has problems, man, but you're not gonna bring it to me though.
I'm here with an OG, you're saying?
I'm really from Baltimore, right? I came up here in 2016. I slept under the bridge. Here's the thing, when it got this cold last year, they would open up places where you can go and get heat, somewhere to sleep for the night. That's not there now.
Look.
When they,
Look. What is it?
What you think is in here?
Think it's a bed?
It will help you sleep. What you think is in here?
Blankets.
Wood.
Oh,
firewood.
That's pretty smart.
So what you do with this?
So we sell the firewood and then sell the trash can eventually.
Oh, you just sell the trash can. Smart. Someone like, yo, where the hell's my trash can right now?
That was stuffed full this morning with firewood.
Okay, so you've already sold quite a bit of firewood.
Yeah. They do help you, but they don't want help. Each L stop has people with the yellow vests on. All you gotta do is say you want help. They'll take your name, and a van come pick you up within 15 minutes. So they are here to help, but all they gotta do is go and ask, but they don't want the help.
How many of these people nod out with a fire on and end up burning themselves?
A lot.
A lot?
Because when they nod it out, the blanket catch fire.
I saw a girl playing catch fire with her in it last year.
You guys use Trank?
Yeah.
Yeah? Is that's standard out here right now still?
Yeah.
How do you not freeze to death out here? You're starting a fire?
A lot of firewood.
Just on the street out here?
Yeah.
I'd be like, go on down the road, you fuck.
If you want to support our boots on the ground, independent journalism that is not bought and paid for by corporate interests.
You here with Salim and Hassan, founder of Soldiers for
Ralph.
Recovery. I've been boots on the ground since I got clean 10 years ago. Prior to 10 years ago, I was once homeless on heroin out here on these streets, sleeping on the streets, doing whatever I can to make a buck to get high on these streets, man.
You're living on the streets, you lost your family, you're addicted. Where are you sleeping?
I used to sleep in this park right here, Needle Park.
Which is notorious for needles being on the ground and people doing drugs.
Absolutely.
Was it always known as Needle Park?
No.
Did you help create it as Needle Park?
I would hate to think that I, played a part in it, but I believe I did.
And look at that, street cleaner. They're cleaning it up. And tomorrow it'll be just as dirty again, right?
That shit gonna be dirty in the next 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours.
Next 2 hours?
Eventually, I got tired of going in and out of rehab. I got tired of sleeping on the streets. I got tired of just being nothing, man. I just woke up one day, so I said, I'm going to rehab.
We're here at Needle Park. We were here 2 years ago almost. You see the needle caps on the ground, and we got a spoon there. Definitely not for any soup. What goes through your mind when you come back here?
I never stop coming out here. What comes to my mind is I got more work to do. All these benches I rested on at some point in time.
Even out here in the winter, this cold.
In the winter, I would go to the mosque to sleep in the masjid. If the mosque was open, then I'll go to the masjid.
We have terrible druggy places here.
Did anything happen in particular?
Right beside my apartment, right down there.
You think about them, but you want that drug, man.
With needles on the ground and everything.
Say you, don't worry, just next week.
But it's somewhat closed off, so the general public doesn't go there.
How did you stop that?
I just was burnt out, man. I wanted more out of life.
But it's so bad, man.
Games with God, because really I knew that this was a spiritual battle. I woke up one day and I said I'm going to rehab.
Because right next is like a football park. Little children. They would use crack and heroin on one side of the bush, and on the other side the children would play. Every time I walk by, it's just shake my head.
Sunday, and I wasn't supposed to come back there for 30 days. I was back in 6 days. I was back there talking and helping, and I've been doing it consistently for the past 10 years.
Tell me about your organization, the work you guys do.
I send people to rehab across the country, real discreet. So if anybody needs help, go to my social media, DM me, Soldiers for Recovery. I don't care where you at in the world. I'm gonna get you out of here. We can get you on a plane. I don't care where you at in this country to get you out of here to go get some good resources that's gonna help you get you back to life. If you have anything you would like to help with Soldiers for Recovery, feel free to donate. It's definitely a tax write-off. I'm registered, and y'all can definitely play a role in helping me doing God's work.
I'm a chef. I'm a licensed barber.
Would you work if someone had a job for you?
Yeah.
Anywhere in Philly?
Yeah.
You'll show up?
Yeah.
Okay.
When I say something, I do it. I'm not a beat around the bush, or I'm a straight shooter. But if you have Instagram, I can show you some shit, though.
Okay, let's check it out. Ladies out there, show our boy Harold some love. If you're single, is that fair? Employers out there, any local restaurant owners, show some love to Harold. You got the credentials. You're a good man. Damn, you got a fucking handshake. That's for sure, too. Holy shit, that's a man shake.
My name is Dr. Adi Jaffe, and I'm an ex-meth distributor who sold hundreds of pounds of meth. And this is how crime works.
This is 1.5 hours. Probably not gonna watch this one. That was a good one though, dude. I got off my mind for half an hour. Great, dude, great. And now it's back to misery. Let's see if there's something else we can watch.
My name is...
This is...
Actually, I have a little bit of headache going on. Today was so bad. Something on this guy.
I think we're 120 miles from the nearest bit of dry land, like 200 miles from the nearest people, 700 miles from the nearest helicopter and Air Force base, and that was miles out of their range. And the weather was so bad. And I just thought, how are we going to make it out of this? Maybe this is it. When I graduated from Aberdeen University, I had a master's in marine and fisheries, and I decided I needed like one job just to get me going. And then I heard about this job where you could go and be an observer, a scientific observer on fishing boats. So basically you registered and you could get sent anywhere in the world, but I knew there was a high likelihood I was going to be sent down towards the Antarctic. And at short notice, you'd be sent to go and live on a fishing boat and watch what the fishermen were doing and try and record what they were catching, but also, importantly, trying to watch to see whether they were catching things like albatross or other seabirds, what was going on with the wildlife, because it was in quite a special area. But it sounded like a magic way to get some experience and also, importantly, pay off some student debt as well.
And how old were you when you first joined the boat?
So when I joined the Cedar Harvard, I was 23. I turned 24 on the boat, and straight out of university, quite naive, long curly hair and a very bad beard. And it got worse. The more time I was at sea, it just got worse. I got a call to come down to London, and I was sent out to join a boat that I was going to be joining in Cape Town. When I came down to London, I didn't know which boat I'd be joining. There were two in port in Cape Town, and it was almost like the flip of a coin. But because I was lazy and I didn't want to learn another language, then the guy I was with took the boat that spoke Spanish, which was called Northern Pride, and I got the Cedar Harvard. We pulled up at the harbour, and there was this big gleaming boat, and that was the boat that my friend was going to be on. So Magnus got the Northern Pride, and then behind it there was this little rusting bucket, which was the Cedar Harvard. And when you saw the Pride, her bow was above our heads. You know, she was a big, proud, gleaming boat, and then this little rusting navy blue boat behind her.
Why is it flagging?
And I thought, oh, what have I done? What have I done? But it was way too late to change by then. When I got onto the boat, I was rattling along the corridors trying to get my bags into the cabin. I was going to be sharing a cabin with this guy called Glenn, who was a second engineer on board. Met him, he was really nice. And then I met the guys who were in charge of the boat, and there were two enormous South African guys called Bubbles and Butty. And they were going to be in charge. Bubbles was the skipper, and then Butty was the fishing master, so he'd be in charge of the boat when it was actually fishing. And they scared the life out of me. Butty was really tall. He had a really neatly clipped moustache. He wore like sort of golf jacket and things around the boat. Well-spoken South African guy. Bubbles was short, wide, gruff, bearded, like dark eyes. You really wouldn't have wanted to meet him in a pub. He looked like a guy who would easily, well, both of them would have easily beaten me in a fight, so I was just the weedy little new guy. And they really seemed to have a good rapport with the crew. When I met the other crew, they really seemed to look up to Bubbles and Butty. They'd been on boats for a long time. They just gave off that, they oozed that kind of authority. And so I thought, well, you know, I'm in safe hands. They're friendly, and it should be a good trip. It took us like 3 weeks of sailing to get down to the fishing grounds. So South Georgia, where we were going to be fishing, is down like basically south of the Falkland Islands. It's really down towards down towards Antarctica, and it's amazing when you see it from the sea. You've got these massive glaciers and mountains with snow on top. We were fishing a long way from land. You're talking about. We did see icebergs on the radar, so there were occasional icebergs going by, but other than that, all you saw were waves, albatross, killer whales, sperm whales, which used to sleep next to the boat, and then occasionally we might see another boat on radar. And in that whole area of land, of water around South Georgia, I mean, you're talking thousands of square miles, there were 11 boats, and that was it. It's not near any shipping lanes, there are no other boats. You would not be down there unless you're fishing or on official business to South Georgia for some reason.
What was the early part of the trip like for you?
I was getting on really well with the crew. I thought that I wasn't going to be made welcome, because ultimately somebody's just watching you work. You're not going to make them feel very welcome. But actually the South African and Namibian crew were amazing. They just made me feel like they were looking after me. And I had no doubts they were really trying to keep to the regulations that they had to. So basically we were having great fun. It was plenty of banter on board. There was lots of good laughs. When we celebrated my birthday, then they got me horrifically drunk on brandy and Coke. So drunk I threw up in my shoes and had to get out in the middle of the night. But for a lot of the guys there, they were just trying to make some money. Just a couple of trips out, make some money and then get back home. And it was brutal work. I mean, Bubbles and Butty said they were taking it easy on the crew because we only had one line in the water. If they're fishing well, or if they hit a good patch, then they would have been working nearly 24 hours a day. But because the fishing had been mediocre, they were trying not to push the crew. So we were getting maybe 3 tons of fish on board, but every day. But this fish is worth a lot of money, like twice as much as steak. So that was a lot of money we were bringing in. But they said on previous trips they managed to bring a lot more fish. So there was a bit of pressure on the boat. The hold was slowly filling up with fish. And then we had this call to go and refuel with the other boat. So the Northern Pride was getting some fuel. It was cheaper if they refueled both boats at once. So we went up to the Falkland Islands, which was like 700 miles, refueled, brilliant, got a couple of days off work, refueled, and then back to the fishing grounds. And that was important later on, because what I hadn't realised was how low in the water the boat was sitting. We had a hold full of like 80 tonnes of fish, and we'd taken on 80 tonnes of fuel. So the boat was sitting really low in the water, and actually one of the crew said to me, like, look, Matt, there's water there, and there, underneath our feet there was a bit where there was a drain, and normally there would have been water draining out of it, but actually the sea was sloshing in and out of this drain. And I hadn't even noticed, but this boat was basically sitting really low in the water. So Saturday, 6th of June, I woke up to the roughest conditions we'd had that trip so far, like a lot rougher. And I stuck my head out the door just to see what I needed to wear, to see my crewmates basically being thrown around the deck. And it was like the deadliest catch. There was water being, like huge waves just coming across the deck and knocking them off their feet. So I had my clipboard, I had my arm up inside a plastic bag to keep it dry, bizarre. And then I basically stood there for an hour and watched all the hooks coming onto the boat to see what was happening. But every now and then you'd hear a big thump when the boat ploughed into the bottom of the trough of a wave, so right into the bottom. The bow would disappear underwater, and then a big wall of water would come along the deck. And I knew it was coming. It was really important not to look, because if I looked, I'd get the water in my face. But if I just watched Trevor, who was opposite me, he was facing the front of the boat, and I'd see his eyes widen, and then I knew there was a big wave coming, and I'd just brace. The water would hit the back of me, I'd be fine, but Trevor would get it straight down his neck. I can really remember at 10 o'clock in the morning, watching the waves were actually casting shadows on the deck, and that tells you how big they were. I mean, you're talking about waves that are 10 metres, so high as a chimney pot on your house. But just the sheer mass of them when they're blocking out the sun at 10 o'clock in the morning, it was crazy. And as well as the waves washing along the deck, you also had the fact that the boat was rolling from side to side and pitching up and down. It was just absolutely crazy. But I did my job. I'd kept up with the fishermen. I'd stayed out on deck. I hadn't complained about it. Finished out on deck, and I went back inside and warmed up. And then that afternoon I had to do a bit of work down in the factory, so I went down into the factory, which was down on basically on sea level, below decks. There were no windows, so you couldn't see where the waves were or sort of the horizon line. And as I walked down, you could see a little bit of water trickling backwards and forwards across the deck as the boat rolled, but it made kind of a nice tinkling sound. And one of the fishermen, Hannes, turned to me and he just said, "Oh, you're going to get wet today." And we were laughing about it. And one of the Portuguese guys, Shaquem, was videoing it to show his family the crazy conditions he had to work in. The situation didn't improve, and a number of us were trying to get people to go up to the bridge to tell Bubbles and Butty. So the two deck bosses, Shaquem and Carlos, had been up to see the guys on the bridge, the skipper. And then Charlie, who was like much respected factory boss, he'd been up as well, and they wouldn't listen to them. They just wanted to carry on fishing, just get the line in. It can't be that bad. It's no worse than things we've seen before. So eventually we managed to get an engineer into the factory, took one look at this other diesel standby pump that we had. Somebody had got down off the wall, and he said, "Oh man, the only person who knows how to work that pump is Alpheus, one of the other engineers." So we had to go and get him. But basically you had a bunch of fishermen who didn't know how to fix the pumps, trying to get those working, and the engineers wouldn't come into the factory. And the water was building up. Then I got to a point, Glenn, my cabin mate, eventually came in, and he came over and I said, "Look, we can't get this pump started." And he said, "Oh, well, we'll see if we can get these other pumps working at the side of the factory." And he showed me what to do. They were basically being blocked up by fish guts and scales, and he showed me to reach underneath the pump. And I thought if I did that, I'd get my fingers ripped off by an impeller. But he showed me it was safe. And we were doing that, and the boat was rolling backwards and forwards. And at one point, he was on his knees, and he just disappeared underwater. So I picked him up off his knees and put him on his feet, and he was coughing and spluttering. And he explained to me what to do so I could do it. And I knelt down and was doing that, and suddenly, all of a sudden, the pump started working, and I watched the water in this little cavity go down, and I thought, brilliant, I've sorted the pump. And then a little light went on in my head that the boat had stopped rolling, and instead of rolling, she was just lying on one side. And I thought, oh no, you know, we've reached a real tipping point here. And I looked up, the water was nearly hitting the ceiling of the factory. The fluorescent lights were spluttering and sparking. And there were probably 6 or 7 of us down in the factory at that point. Out of 38 people, everybody else had left the factory, and there were just a few of us trying to save the boat. And the only way out of that boat was basically along a corridor on the side that was now filling up with water. So I was thinking, right, I've got to get out of here. People were throwing life jackets down into the factory, but there weren't enough for Glenn and I, so we just decided we were going to leave then. And we climbed up on a bench, had our heads nearly touching these lights that were sparking, and we climbed out of the factory and into the main part of the boat. And there were all these life jackets just lying around on the floor. Like, we hadn't been issued with life jackets. They were in a locked cabinet in case the crew tried to sell them when we got to port. So because of that, somebody had knocked the padlock off with an axe, got all the life jackets out, and they were just strewn around the floor. I grabbed one, and then I went outside, and there were all the other crew, all lined up. They were waiting for a bus, life jackets on, oilskins on, some of them had bags. And I turned to Trevor, who I'd been working with that morning, and I just said, "What's happening? Are we abandoning or what?" And he said, "Yes, Matt, this is it." And I just felt this welling up of panic. So I ducked back into my cabin, and the curtains were hanging away from the porthole. Everything, like coats, were all at odd angles because of the way the boat was leaning over. And I just thought, what am I going to do? Like, just took a few deep breaths, tried to calm myself. And I thought, I've got my suit. I'll go and get my suit. And then I realised, like, Big Darnie, one of the crew, had said that people would fight with knives for a place on the rafts. So if we ever had to get off the boat, they would fight with knives. And I thought, well, if I go and grab that suit, they're going to take it off me. I'll need to do it. So I snuck up to basically the funnel where it was drying, and there was actually a door to get inside next to the exhausts where I left it drying, grabbed my suit, and nearly got stuck inside the funnel because the big, heavy metal waterproof door was so heavy I couldn't push against it to get back out of this when the way the boat was listing. And then a swell moved the boat, something happened, and I shot out of this door next to the bridge in my suit, with it half on, half off, in a fluster. And I was stood next to the bridge, and Shaquem, this Portuguese guy, came up next to me, and I said, right, do we launch the life rafts? So we had one life raft for 12 blokes. And there were 38 of us on board. So then we went round and launched the other 2 life rafts as well. And that was funny. Bubbles had said, "Oh no, Matt, I wouldn't bother. That one will be enough for us." And I thought, are you mad? We've got one life raft for 12 guys and there's 38 people. But we went round and launched the other 2 life rafts. And the crew then took those around to the back of the boat, to the stern, so that people could get ready to board them. And I went down the stairs to get to the back deck to where they were waiting. And I just had a moment of dread, because I looked out at the waves, and they were just basically all you could see were grey waves being torn to pieces by the wind. There were snow showers coming through. It was just awful conditions. All you could see for miles around us was basically the sea churning and snow. And I thought, I don't get how we're going to make it out of this. There's no boats near us. We're about to board life rafts, and there is no land for miles. I think we're 120 miles from the nearest bit of dry land, like 200 miles from the nearest people, 700 miles from the nearest helicopter and Air Force base, and that was miles out of their range. And the weather was so bad. And I just thought, how are we going to make it out of this? Maybe this is it. And I just had a moment where I was like, right, I don't know what we're going to do, but this cheesy bit from a film came into my head. I'd watched Robinson Crusoe or something just before I'd been away, and there was a bit where, like, Man Friday was arguing, and they were talking about the fact they were about to fight somebody, and he turned to Robinson Crusoe and he said, "All men die, but it's how you die that matters. If I die, I don't want to be a coward or to fall to pieces, so let's go down and we'll get off this boat and give everybody as good a chance as we can." So I went down the stairs,
that makes sense.
There were the crew lined up, and we went along the crew one by one, me and Charlie, checking them and saying, it's okay, we'll be fine, don't panic. And this was like lines that I'd learned in lifeguard lessons at school, just like in a swimming pool, being told to, don't panic, everything will be fine, help's on its way. And there I was, walking along the crew, saying that and trying to keep people calm. Still no call to abandon ship. So in the end, we just said, go, 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 get off the boat. And people started boarding the life rafts. And then I realised that there was nobody left. I was like stood there on these crates and there was nobody left. And I thought, what if there's somebody left? We haven't checked that there's, like, there could be somebody left on the boat. And so I climbed up along the boat to where the accommodation was, basically where the bridge was. And as I arrived there, our captain, the Icelandic guy, Björgvin, comes out of the accommodation with his suit. He had a deck suit like mine. He had his suit just pulling it on. And he'd only just been woken up. He'd slept through all of this. So he comes out of the deck accommodation with his suit around his waist, trying to pull everything on, and saying, Matt, what's happening? And I had to say, that's it. We're going. We're abandoning ship. We've taken water on. We're sinking. We're getting onto rafts. And then I turned and made my way back to the back of the boat, ready to board. But he didn't come with me. And then I turned around and realised that he was basically trying to help Bubbles. So Bubbles, the South African skipper, had collapsed in the water. And I think he'd maybe had a heart attack, some sort of an event. And then Björgvin got over the rail of the boat and jumped into the life raft that was nearest. And I basically manhandled Bubbles over the rail of the boat and had him pinned in between my legs as I stood on the back of the boat. And I had my hand around, I had my fist like grabbed him by the scruff of his jumper. He was just in a jumper and jogging pants. And then I looked down and caught his eyes and he was not right. You could just see he was just grey-faced and caught his eye. And then the life raft came in underneath us and his crew reached up and then they dropped away again, so we waited. And then on the next time, I dropped him basically into the arms of his crew and then paused and then I jumped myself. So I was the last man off the Suda Harbour. And I landed in the middle of all the crew in the life raft and it was exhilarating. Should have been this moment of terror and it just felt like we were free. And I hit the middle of the crew, brilliant. And then we couldn't find a knife to cut the rope between us and the Suda Harbour. And the wind, I don't know if the boat had shifted or the wind had shifted, but we were then being pushed underneath the boat. So this boat, 400 tons, was lifting up into the air and we were being pushed underneath. And at one point I could feel the hull coming down, this rusty, pitted, just rough iron coming down on top of my head. And I thought, it's gonna crush me, I'm gonna pop.
Oh my
God. And then worse was to happen because then this big metal archway came down on top of the raft and it just crushed the raft underwater, flooded it, full of ice cold seawater, hit people on the head, crushed me. It was pushing against my cheek so hard, you know, I thought it was gonna break me. And then the next minute we pinged out and we're away. But now we're in a life raft that's flooded basically waist deep in water. It's -1 degree C. The people are obviously shocked, but also I think some of them had been knocked by the girder as well. And we were pushed away from the Suda Harbour by the wind, and she basically sort of seemed to, the back end lifted up, the stern of the boat lifted up, and at some point she just went quiet, so the engines stopped, and that was the first time in ages that we hadn't had that noise of the engines. And then I started thinking, right, I need to get on and we need to sort this raft out. And I didn't see her sink, but one of the crew did and said that she basically settled down and then the bow lifted up and she disappeared under the waves, but I'm quite glad I didn't see that. The waves were still crashing into the life raft, the storm was still going on. And to bail this life raft, all we could find was a Nescafe jar. Like, I don't know why maybe the crew had their cigarettes in it or something, but that's all we had, was a Nescafe jar and some Wellington boots. And we were laughing, we were still joking. I can remember pulling Darnie's boot off and saying, man, this thing's so big you could bail the Titanic with this. But it didn't work. And when we got it in the water, like the boot was so soft, it was no good to actually bail the life raft. And every time we bailed, we got more water in from the waves. So eventually we got the doors closed and we settled down and just checking people around us were okay. So I was in a raft with the skipper and the captain and the fishing master. So Bubbles and Bjorgvin and Butti were all there. We had the steward as well, he'd abandoned ship in just his flip-flops and a t-shirt. So not well prepared. But we managed to get the doors shut and sealed down.
Yeah, what was the rafts like?
So it might be worth describing the raft, actually, which is, they're about 3 or 4 meters in diameter. The one we were in was a bit bigger, so maybe 4 meters. They're inflatable. It looks like a giant kid's paddling pool, but with black rubber. And the floor on ours was bowed down by the water, but there's basically a rubber floor. And we were treading, just like a treadmill on it, in socks, just trying to keep up out of the water.
Oh my God.
Down so much. And then there's a canvas roof over the top, which is held up by an inflatable pillar. And around the edge of the raft, there's a rope inside the tubes that you can hold on to. So I found that if I held onto the rope and I just basically treaded with my feet, just kept going with my socks, I could just keep out of the water and keep a bit warm. After a while, we were trying to check where the other rafts were, because it was starting to get dark. We'd abandoned ship at 4 o'clock. We knew that by 6 o'clock it would be dark. Maybe it had been damaged, but our life raft had no light on it. So we were in an unlit life raft. And it turned out that the survival grab bags that I'd seen Bubbles preparing, when we opened the grab bags, all they contained was basically some passports, a video camera, and a bottle of brandy. There was nothing else. Like, there was no radio, there was no flares, there was no radio beacon. All these EPIRBs that you've heard about, we had all of that kit on the boat, and none of it was in the bag. As the light got more dim, then we all just basically settled down. There was no more talk in the raft. Nobody was asking questions. Everything had gone quiet.
You gotta pick up energy as well.
Battle to survive.
Yeah.
And you start, thinking a bit about home. I can remember thinking that, maybe I'll never get to see my girlfriend again. Maybe I'll never get to have sex again. Distinctly remember thinking that, and that's just bizarre when you're adrift in the middle of the Southern Ocean. And then there's some really clear memories, like this really annoying vent in the canopy was next to me. I think you're supposed to put a radio beacon, antenna up through it. But either way, it kept on blowing open in my face, so then I'd reach up and tie it closed. And then I'd reach up and try and tighten up my hood or zip up my coat a bit more. All of these things going on. And I remember looking down and seeing Trevor floating there in his life jacket. He had a big bushy beard, and we'd been laughing that morning, and he just looked really at peace, and I just thought, he looks really peaceful floating there. And then I got a call one more time, Matt, can you help me please? And I thought, I can't. But it was weirdly polite, and I thought, I can't not go. I can't stay here, I have to go and help. So I commando rolled across the raft one more time, I could feel things under me, like limbs. And I got to the edge of the raft, and Hannes was trying to seal the door down. Mornay, one of the guys, had been trying to hold the door shut with his own hand, just trying to hold it down, but the wind had ripped it up. And so we tried to seal this door down one more time, and just when we thought we'd done it, the wind caught it and ripped the door out of our hands. And this big blast of Antarctic air came in, just freezing. But I saw a light, and I thought, oh, there's a light. And then it went again, and I thought, no, I can't say anything because, maybe I'm hallucinating or something. But then the swell dropped, and there was a light again. And I said, there's a light. There's a boat. And when the swells moved, there was a whole row of lights, and I knew it was a red light. It must be like the side of a fishing boat. And I started screaming, to wake my raft mates up, but also because I didn't want the boat to miss us. And within a few minutes, this boat pulls up alongside. The lights were on the canopy, and we knew then that the boat was next to us. So we opened up the canopy to see this fishing boat next to us, and it was huge. And they pulled me over the railing, put me on my feet, and I fell flat on my face on the floor. And then 2 fishermen grabbed me under the shoulders, pulled me inside, and stripped me naked and put me in a hot shower. And I can remember thinking, this is not the way you're supposed to treat a casualty. But it was so nice. And I turned around and turned it hotter. And then after a few minutes, I was taken through, like basically dragged through and put into the canteen, wrestled into some dry clothes. And I looked around and there were some of my crewmates. But in my little hypothermia-addled brain, I knew my brain was not fast, and I could look around, and Stephen, one of the guys, was right next to me. I just said, "Oh man, give me a hug. I got to warm up." And I wasn't even shivering. I was so cold. And gradually, the other people from my life raft were brought in. And just before we were rescued, there'd been this weird moment when Bubbles had started to do roll calls. So he'd been calling out the names of people who he knew were in the raft. So he'd be calling out, like, "Matt," and I'd reply, "Yes, Skipper, I'm here." But as we got closer to being rescued, the list seemed to be getting shorter. And like my little brain had figured out that the list was getting shorter, and he'd said, "Butty, Butty." And Butty hadn't replied. And Hannes had said, "Stop, man, he's dead." And then I'd looked around, and now I could see that not as many people were coming onto the boat as there had been in my raft. But one by one, 7 of us were brought in to the canteen. And in total, from the first raft that had got away, 14 men were rescued alive, and all 14 of them had survived. And on my life raft, 7 of us had survived out of the 17, so 10 of us had died. And on the third life raft, which was Shaquem and Carlos's, that was found the next day, like capsized and empty. So the remaining, whoever had been in that raft had died as well. So we lost 17 of the 38 crew in total. 21 of us survived.
How did you feel the moment that you realised that the other people on your life raft hadn't made it?
There's moments when I know that within the life raft, I think I knew they were dead. Like, I can remember looking at Trevor and thinking how peaceful he looked, and I think I knew he was dead. But I hadn't quite firmed it up in my mind. I hadn't quite registered it. Bubbles and Butty had both died, like basically next to me, and I hadn't realised. So the boat that had come to rescue us, it turned out was the Isla Camilla. She was from Chile, and she'd only returned to the fishing grounds 2 days before. Captain Sandoval had written our position on the board, and then he cut away his line, and he turned and raced to save us. They were 28 miles away when they heard our call. And like the most amazing feat of seamanship, he managed to predict with the wind and the tides and the waves where we would be, and basically arrived about 3 hours after we'd sunk, after he'd heard our Mayday call. And within probably 20 minutes of arriving on scene, he'd managed to find the first life raft.
How do you feel towards the crew of the Isla Camilla that saved you?
Best way of summarising how I feel was that a week later we were in fact it was 2 weeks later, we were in the Falkland Islands. But we were in the pub, and this little Chilean guy comes up to me and he said something in Spanish. And I looked at him, and the woman next to him, who was a ship's agent, had translated. And he says, "Do you know who I am?" And I said, "Oh, you're from the Isla Camilla." And she said, "But do you know who I am? I'm the one who pulled you from the raft. I'm the one that pulled you over the side." And his name was Jesus Posada. And he'd been one of the ones, and he said, "I pulled you over the side of the boat, and I kissed you on the cheek." And I said, "Thank God." And I had this moment, like, we're in a pub, I'm drunk, but I had this moment when I was like, right, I owe my life to these guys. So I said to him, like, if I ever have a daughter, I'll call her Camilla after the ship. And it seemed like such a daft promise, but it was meant with like the best of intention. And it did not go down well with my girlfriend when she found out. But I made it, and it was like, that was exactly how I felt. They were magic, and they pulled us from the middle of a storm with such luck and skill that we owed everything to them.
And did you go on to have a daughter?
Yeah, yeah. Years later, eventually with a bit of internet searching, I was able to find Ernesto Sandoval in Chile, and I could send him a message to say that I'd fulfilled my promise and send him a picture of Camilla. And that was just magic. Like being able to fulfill that and show him that the efforts they made were worth it, that they gave a whole lot of us our lives back. So he rescued 21 of us. And just all the lives that we went on to lead were basically due to him and his crew.
It's amazing.
It's as good as it gets. It's as lucky as it gets. If we'd signed 2 days earlier, they wouldn't have been there.
Okay, my headache is still there. I think I'm just gonna call it now. It was a 1 hour of walk. It's quite good. Back to misery, guys. Thanks for hanging out. I wish you the best weekend. Tomorrow, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I need to work. I need to work a lot. Need to I don't know what to do, dude. A lot of shit going on. Alright. Thanks for hanging, guys. I'll see you next time. GG. Thank you. Bye.